already, validation financially, primary and secondary. This is where the market is going and building out a use case. But I think there will be a mass conversion. I mean, we've already seen, Pharrell is a really big one who I'm a huge fan of. Now is going to be, at Vuitton as a creative director. And we know his involvement, as I mentioned earlier, with the doodles. And that's huge. The fact that you have someone who's so heavy in Web3 now being a lead in one of the houses, and Arnaud, who's part of Bernard Arnault, who's the head of LVMH of that family, he's part of the whole drive when it comes to CryptoPunks and Tiffany's, Pharrell's hire, and all these things. So there's a new wave and there's a new guard coming, and I think that will show a lot of the shifts. And just to kind of tie back, because I am also representing the Fabricant as well as myself here. But part of what we do is really about co-creation and creating a platform where you can co-create. So we had a drop last year for World of Women where we did a collaboration where we worked with different artists and designers in our community so that they could create fabrics and colorways. And anyone who was going into mint could actually make adjustments and co-create their garment. And I think we're so freaking early even with this right now. And it's just the possibilities are endless. But I will end on the note that the blockchain proves ownership, it proves design. And this is the way that we need to go, because even as small designers and big designers, there's no way to verify. And getting that trademark or that IP for your design is a freaking nightmare. That's why we see all the luxury brands. Fashion Week is happening right now when, designs go up on, the internet for all the designs. You have all the mass fashion brands copying it down to a T. And honestly, there's really a lot of times nothing that they can really do about it. But if you're a small designer, you're building on the blockchain, you have verification, and also you can see all the transactions that go through. So I didn't really state whether I'm for or against, but I will say that Hermes case, what it does prove that Web 2 and Web 3 matters. There's no division. It's an and situation where you need to be physical and you need to be digital, and legal transcends those boundaries. For creators and designers, maybe this can be looked at as a pro and a con, but frankly speaking, right now, we need more people in this space and we need mass adoption. So for me, I think that it's a win in that sense.
I agree. I think it can be seen in some light as a kind of positive, because this whole kind of legal case almost just kind of adds credence and legitimacy to some degree to what digital products are. And I think it's really telling that, one, as you were saying, that it came out that Hermes, I think back in 2021, it turns out that they were like filing patents for NFTs. And then, kind of cut to 2 years later, year and a half later, then they're kind of taking somebody to court for ripping off their designs. I think we'd be kind of slightly naive to think that they wouldn't be paying attention of what all this stuff is going on, and that they wouldn't try their absolute damnedest to kind of keep hold of their IP, because that's what these luxury brands are. That's how they make their money. Yes, these handbags are incredible objects. Yes, they're handmade, but are they worth £50,000? Inherently, no, they're not. So the only way that can exist is if they have their IP and they have this kind of scarcity. That whole scarcity thing just ties in very, very nicely with what the blockchain is and how NFTs work. So I think these big luxury brands are taking this stuff really, really seriously, and I think this court case shows that. And in a way, yes, it is a shame that they weren't kind of open to this kind of new creator economy and this new way of kind of engaging their audiences, but I think in another way, as I say, it just kind of adds legitimacy to, yes, digital products are real products and they can go through the same processes and go through the same legal challenges. And I think on the whole, that's kind of better for the ecosystem that we're discussing here, I think.
Dee, I see you have your hand up.
Yes. Hi. I wanted to say that I totally agree that there is like kind of two sides of the coin. From the one hand, I think it's a sign that the big corporations are like not ready to collaborate with creators. with young and talented creators, and I think that's kind of limit them in expressing their creativity, and I think this is kind of like can limit all the industry. But from the other point of view, I had a situation which happened with my physical brand, and we created a very statement dress which with a very like strong design, and Zara, they copied this design like totally like the same. They did like totally the same design, and of course it was kind of frustrating that they did that, because after that a lot of kind of Chinese brands start to create these copycats of our brand, and it was like so frustrating because it was so unique design, and yeah, we just couldn't do anything because we are like not so big brand, we just small brand. And also, yeah, the quality of the dress they did was of course much more lower because we did like high-end fashion brand, and the quality of the pieces we did were like super high-end, and they just like ruined all the idea and created this dress which looked like the same but very bad quality. So yeah, just wanted to share this story, but actually in Hermes case, I think it's kind of another situation because I think they upgraded their design and it looked so fun and so creative, and so I think it looked like cool, and like in my opinion they kind of had to find a way how to collaborate and how to get out of this in like a win-win situation.
But actually, can I add quickly? It's also teaching to maybe consider the interest and how brands would behave because they have also a huge responsibility and the heritage to protect and all other important serious adult things. And really, I think it's a matter of finding the way how to speak the same language and how to educate each other and how to expand this notion of collaboration, considering something that existed for many years, like tens of years, hundreds of years, like translating the heritage into the new kind of uh, new realms. And it's always two ways road. And yeah, I think it's a great case which will stay, and a lot of conclusions are to be made.
Jumpstart, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I did. I also want to just give space in case anyone else on the stage also wanted to share, but I'll try to keep this point a little bit shorter. I can talk about Web3 fashion, digital fashion, probably without breathing for a very long time. That's why I'm so hyped about Web3 and fashion and everything that's going to happen. But Show Studio, you touched on something that I wanted to also reiterate, which you mentioned legitimacy. I think when people hear the word Web3 or NFTs, the general public and the old guard, when it comes to working in luxury fashion, they have an allergy. It's like you literally gave them kryptonite and they don't know what in the world to do with that. And they're kind of hot potatoing this. They don't even want to deal with this. Like the degenerates, they don't even know what degens mean. It's just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I mean, if you think about back in the days where Starbucks was one of the first to, and I know it's not fashion, but they have been making moves, obviously, Nike as well. But, they were the first when it came, or one of the first when it came to mobile payments. And, I'm a nerd like that. So I read through business calls and reviews and I sit through that, even though I'm like very deep into fashion, because I'm curious about how the business world works and finance. And, over almost 80% of their sales in North America are all mobile. So when you think about that, there was a time and place where we were thinking smartphones, what's a smartphone? I have a brick called a, Nokia or a Sidekick or a BlackBerry if you're in the, elder millennial or boomer generation. I barely made the cut for elder millennial. Thank you, Jesus. But I think, this proves like there's going to be a time and place where everyone's going to be using, Zoom, have Zoom calls where you don't even need to put on makeup anymore. And I like made a TikTok about this before, and I've been talking with my friends because they always ask me, what the hell are you doing with your life right now? And I'm saying, hey, just follow along, watch these brands, track, projects like CloneX and what they're doing, what the community is creating, because that's basically UGC content, and y'all can also monetize on that. And that is just some next generation type of things that they're not familiar with yet. But when you show them the use case of, hey, you never have to put on makeup, fake eyelashes, you never need to wear any like normal clothes, you could just wear a tank top and you can come out all put together, rocking your Nikes, rocking, Chanel Beauty or Huda Beauty, which we know that is coming into the space because she's very involved with Gary Vee. But that's the use case of something very simple, because when you talk about going into Decentraland or Sandbox, and a lot of us may be in on there, but for the regular our normie friends, it just seems like we're crazy people talking on the internet and throwing up emojis like we are right now.
Totally. I think it's something that is, I find this with my friends all the time, is that they don't quite understand the whole digital fashion thing when it comes to, or even like filter kind of thing, when it comes to like being in the metaverse and 3D avatars and all that kind of thing. But then, they will use a filter on their Snapchat stories every single day, when they're posting selfies and things like that. So it's like they're already in that. We're already existing as digital identities in kind of AR. So I think in that way people can relate to it much easier. And I'm sure within the next 2 to 3 years we're going to see a huge emergence of glasses that come out from all the kind of top brands, from Apple to Samsung, etc., where it will give another kind of layer to this world that we're living in, that is a digital world, that we get to kind of impose these AR filters onto our kind of selves and onto our friends and things like that. And in that way, I can so see digital fashion and digital beauty and NFTs playing a huge part in that. Show Studio, do you want to say something, Tom?
Yeah, I think just on your point of like kind of those of us who are sort of native to this space and go on Decentraland and play Fortnite and game and use AR filters and do all this stuff. I think to us all of this seems kind of natural progressions, and we can kind of foresee where it's going, and we get excited about it. Like we know, AR isn't exactly where it should be at the moment, or where it can be, in the coming years. Decentraland is a bit glitchy, and fashion and gaming isn't quite there. There's all these kind of different facets that most of us here know is kind of really exciting, and kind of we see it as a holistic thing. But I think just going back to the Hermes thing and sort of how luxury brands are dealing with this, like I kind of get the impression, like some of the conversations that we've been having over the last couple of years, there are a lot of brands that want to get into this and kind of know that they should be getting into this, but it's sort of kind of hard entry points for them because they see that Decentraland looks a bit cartoony and AR filters don't quite work yet and everything. But I think that's the thing, is like when you see it as the individual parts, then yeah, I totally agree, it's hard to get into. But when you look at it as a kind of whole ecosystem and what digital fashion is on the whole and how it's going to move forward and how it is moving forward, I think that's the kind of tricky thing for big brands to kind of get a grasp of, how they enter this space and how they do it succinctly and coherently for their existing customer base, and how to bring on the new customers. And I think the focus at the moment is like, we have to bring on this new generation, Gen Z or whatever, but that's not necessarily the whole focus. It's just focusing on the creativity that this space allows and just pushing out really, really good, well thought out projects, which we've seen a few brands do. So it is possible. It's just kind of how to wrap your head around it. But I think I feel that people do want to do it. Brands do want to do it. Just needs people like us to kind of help them along the way.
Evangelize the digital fashion space, show studio. Let's all go. I think that's all why we're here. Sorry, Fawn, I didn't mean to cut you off on that point.
No,
But I love what you shared.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing as what you said. Anyone
We're on the same wavelength.
who's got like those kind of connections to the older brands, which obviously Show Studio, you guys have been in this space for such a long time and have such a worthy kind of name where brands kind of trust you. I think it takes that, and I think what's interesting about this whole kind of topic is, especially like relating back to clones, I think Nike did it in such an interesting way, and I think they entered the space so well because instead of them saying, and they had all the patents like back in the day of I think they did it back in 2018 2019 of wanting to do crypto kicks and then evolving and things like that, and they hadn't acted on it yet, and then they saw some little brand called Artifact making these sneakers and it's selling for like the craziest amount of money, and them kind of ripping off Nike and doing what they're doing, being like rebels, and I think that kind of still kind of plays out with the Artifact brand even today. And instead of going and suing them, they said, actually, what a smarter move would be is to acquire you, and then just observe and see how then once we've acquired you, how we can make our own entrance into the space as well. And I think they were really thoughtful with that. Learning from the best, Artifact really was and still is like one of the top brands in NFTs. So, for them to kind of sit back, they announced Swoosh like quite a while ago. So for them to sit back and say that we're actually just observing for now. We want to see how things go. We want to see what people are doing that is good in the space and what is bad, like learning about the community and things like that, and then launching Swoosh and still even making it such a drawn out process where they still haven't even released anything onto the market yet, and they've just been delivering value to different communities, different sneaker communities and things like that. I think that's such like a thoughtful way of entering the space, and I'm really hoping in the future that we see more fashion brands, whether it's high fashion or even just mid kind of tier fashion, Web2 fashion brands coming into the space, but with thought and intent, instead of just coming in and wanting to kind of money grab and say, okay, we're going to drop a 10K project or whatever, just because we know that it's hyped, and not really listen and understand the community that is already existing here that will kind of prop up their stuff to begin with. Because yes, it's all about onboarding new people, but at the end of the day, there is a core community here that is so willing to prop up the brand and do exactly what we do for all of the brands that we buy into, like Azuki, like Clone, where we're a marketing machine for these brands. So why wouldn't you want to collaborate with these incredible brands that already exist, that have already got existing communities, that are die-hard fans? Why would you not want to tap into that as a Web2 fashion brand? So that's just my thoughts on it. And I hope that in the future, we will see some collaborations with high fashion brands and NFTs, like Artifact is kind of has always had this vision of doing, and bringing in brands like Byredo and Rimowa, and hopefully we'll see more in the future.
I think with just to talk about Artifact and CloneX a little bit. Hope I'm not taking up too much airtime, but I think one of the things from like just to sort of slightly nerd out a little bit is I'm a clone holder. I got one on midday, and then they announced the acquisition. It's like, oh yeah, but wow. But I think that there's one thing from a technical perspective. I think it's quite interesting to just sort of think about how sneakers and Artifact were doing sneakers from day one. Like from a technical perspective, it kind of makes sense, and it's an easy entry point. So in the sort of grand scheme of things, it's a relatively kind of easy way to get into this, because there's the drop culture of sneakers, but then also just the technical elements of adding a sneaker to a playable character, for example, is relatively easy when you compare it to something like flowing fabric. That's really, really hard to create in CGI, very, very hard to get into a real-time game environment. So I think the technology and how this moves, that there's a bunch of amazing tech that's kind of constantly being developed and announced and coming out. As we see that move on in the next kind of few years, I think it'll be a bit easier for fashion brands to start entering this space because their garments can get shown in the way that they would like them to. I think, also that's kind of an interesting thing about the Hermes and the Meta Birkins, handbags, they're easy to to kind of get into digital spaces. They don't move, they don't have to be simulated and stuff like that. So I think there's always this kind of undercurrent of the tech kind of being pushed forward and kind of having to catch up with people's ideals. And I think that's what we saw in the last kind of year or two, is everyone saying that, oh, this tech is amazing, all this stuff that you can do with it, but there are just these technical limitations to it. And we saw that with, Facebook. There's, they put out all of their kind of billboard adverts of, surgeons using their kind of Meta Quest Pro to do surgery. That's that's we're not there. We're nowhere near there yet. And I think when you give people that expectation of like, this is what this tech can do, and this is it, and then you see the reality of it, and it's like, oh, it's just kind of underwhelming. So I think we're still a way to go with certain branches of the fashion industry, definitely.
Jumpstart, you want to jump in? Haha, jump in. Jumpstart.
I'm dying. I love that, Frankie. Yeah, and I also just want to encourage anyone else on the stage, because I know Show Studio and I think we're like nerding out and just being super hyped, obviously, about CloneX and digital fashion, and we totally can't shut up right now. But I know all of y'all have a lot to say. But I did want to make it a point, because actually I feel like I'm today years old every single day. I'm in Web3, because you're always learning something new, and if you're not learning, then there's a problem, because everything literally moves at the speed of light. I remember when I used to live in New York, they said, things move at a New York minute. I lived in Hong Kong and in China, and it's like Hong Kong Chinese like millisecond, because that's how fast the market moves and how things can change. But I feel like literally being in Web3 is like a nanosecond. Things could literally flip, whether or not it's the floor price, it's a hype of a project, or whatever it is. But what I did want to touch on, Fawn and Show Studios made some amazing points. But Fawn, you touched upon something that I wanted to also reference, which is the way that Nike and Artifact moved in this space. It was brilliant, because they proved value. They proved financial validation that a lot of the old heads and the old guard, they actually really need to see. And, Artifact is one of the OGs in the space. And I think that, making that move of acquisition versus building something from scratch, that was a brilliant move, because it showed that, they were new to the space, but they were willing to invest and acquire and to partner with someone who's already been here and been building community. And actually, I didn't know this because I only started in the Web3 space in January 1st. But actually, sorry, this is not meant to be a shill. It's more of like a connection with the clone space. But the Fabricant had actually worked with Artifact back in 2021 in April. And that was before, I was born in Web3. And I thought that was really crazy. And I know, DMAT as well, that actually the collection was dropped exclusively on DMAT. And I think that there are opportunities for, digital fashion houses and other players to partner as well. And I think that as much as we are, friends within digital fashion, we are also businesses, but we are also partners and hype crew for everyone else, because we have a mission, which is to educate and onboard more people into this space. And, even talking about Nike and what they're doing with Dot Swoosh and going to different cities, IRL experiences, and, making sure people actually understand what they're doing and getting that Dot Swoosh swag, which is totally a flex, right? So I think, again, like I'm hype crew for digital fashion and everyone up here on stage and in the audience, but also in terms of the big brands and also the smaller creators of what we're doing. So I'll stop here because I see Johnny has his hand up.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me up here. Yeah, it's been an amazing topic for sure, coming from the fashion world, and especially a guy who works on Nikes and Jordans in the real world to remake them and uses their IP every single day, and seeing what they're doing currently to every single customizer and bootlegger and everything like that, and suing them in Web 2 and hitting them with cease and desist to kind of protect their IP. I think these fashion brands if you actually look at historically in the real world or in Web 2, they're the ones that get taken advantage of the most. I mean, 95% of all women's bags are fake, right? I think 70% of the shoes in the secondary market are fake. And they're using, LVMH, Nike, Adidas, IP, and trademarks in Web 2. And these companies get away with selling billions upon billions of dollars, whether they're product in the real world. And so I think every company is going towards the way of Web3 and the way that I think they need to jump in. But I think right now, first and foremost, they're just trying to protect it legally. And with the Birkin thing, it's almost like, take an inch, give a mile in a way, where it's like, you can't really, they almost have to come down like a strong hammer right now with anybody using their IP, because you let one person slip, all of a sudden it's a slippery slope, and you got tens of thousands of different side projects using your IP. I mean, look at the Bored Ape thing, for instance, right? When the Bored Ape came out, how many derivative projects were there? I mean, it was thousands of them, right? And then you confuse the marketplace, and then it can dilute your brand very fast. I mean, when you look at Nike and what's happening right now with even their secondary sites like StockX, which is the largest secondary site marketplace, right? They just got sued by Nike, and they had to take down the disclaimer that they actually sell authentic product and that they can guarantee authentication, because they cannot anymore, which is basically opening the floodgates to saying, please sell your fake Nikes through us, right? Which is going to dilute the brand like crazy, right? And so this is where I think the NFC chips and the RFID chips and implantation like that into their physical products is going to help differentiate between fake product and authentic product. And then so when you just move it to Web3, where it's on chain and everything like that, it's really to protect the value of the brands, right? And so Hermes saw it. I mean, they sell some of the most expensive product on earth, right? And so with that, a guy who wanted to use their IP willingly and knowingly, instead of building the hype for his own brand, he basically used the back of somebody else's IP and then tried to launch a brand. They saw it, they took advantage, and they won, right? Pretty clear as day. As a customizer myself, doing these Nikes, I've been asked by so many fashion Web3 brands to just turn all of my digital concepts from Nikes and Jordans into, NFTs and digital. But I knew 2 years ago, if I was to do that, Nike would have come and sued me, right? Because it is on chain. They can see every single transaction. So yeah, I think right now every brand is going to move into Web3. It's just they're going to do it very strategically, and they're going to do it their way. And they want their brands to be represented the way they want it to be, not by randoms trying to take advantage of the lineage and the history that they've spent decades building. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I appreciate you guys so much for having me up here.
Those were some crazy stats, Johnny. I did not know that 70% of shoes were fake. Johnny is an OG in the artifact community. We love him very much. He's a very, 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 very talented digital shoe designer, IRL shoe designer, OG crypto head. I meant sneaker head, but crypto head too, maybe. But yeah, this has been such an informative and amazing conversation. I did want to open the floor and see if any founders just had general questions that they wanted to kind of panel ask each other. I know I have a couple questions, so we can take a pause for that if anyone kind of wants to throw a topic into the space and just kind of chat about it. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys change your mind, let me know. I do have a question. I wonder, because we keep talking about how early, digital fashion is, obviously, how early AR is. So I just want to hear from some of the most innovative minds, entrepreneurs in the space. Where do you want digital fashion to go in the long run? Like, where is your ideal end game? If anyone's, comfortable sharing that, I'm just so curious as to, you guys are building something so early on, and I'm like, what is this larger vision, so I can help see it too and spread the word and all that good stuff. And also for listeners who don't understand as much. Yeah, Layla, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The Artisan. What is your opinion on that?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I was taking notes. I'm like a nerdy student, so I was just taking notes and learning from you guys. Thanks for sharing. I also checked the audience. We have amazing listeners today. Guys, thank you so much for staying and listening. Quite impressive audience today. There are so many things that we can do with digital fashion, and I know it sounds general. I'm very surprised that we haven't touched the elephant in the room yet. Maybe we should live it this way for once, for one Twitter space in the entire, lifetime. It's AI, of course. But I really think that we can do a lot of things. First, the simplest thing that I have no idea why it's not still integrated is, of course, prototyping. Big companies waste so many materials on prototyping, while we have amazing digital tools that can be used and integrated today, and it will make the work of designers much easier. I recently talked to Nike designer. Some of them already do that, and they can testify that it makes their life much easier. Maybe Diana, as a traditional designer, can add to it as well. Of course, something that Johnny just touched based on chips like Halo chips, NFC chips, and other like physical technologies that can add validity to the physical items and link them to the digital items and expand the experience of the users and owners of physical items into both realms, because as we know, we spend 2 times more time online right now than in physical world. So I'm sure it will add value to the item, like to the expensive bag for $3,000, if people could also somehow showcase it in their favorite game. Right, so this is another great and simple technology that can be used, and we already tested it at Artisan last year twice. These were small projects, but nevertheless, they proved to be very effective and quite simple to execute. So I'm sure a bigger corporation won't find it hard to integrate it as well. And of course, I'm a believer in mixed reality. I think it's already happening. Like, I mean, who hasn't used DressX or 010 app earrings or dresses in AR? Come on, everyone did. They look pretty amazing. I can't wait for the HoloLens drop as well to add it to my looks for the calls. So AR is a great tool that will allow us to communicate better who we are in a much, more open way. And I just see that, more and more businesses will recognize the amazing business opportunities, because I feel like that's the language that traditional businesses speak. They are revenue driven. So more and more we communicate the numbers and how digital fashion will double the traditional fashion market in the next 10 years. So I think facts like that will make sure that all the big brands eventually will, join the movement and become more sustainable, because this is part of the game. We're not just doing it for their marketing purposes. We're doing it to make the world a little bit better and cleaner. And I mean, we just need to be patient, and I can already see so much progress. Big brands reach out to us, and I follow the work of all of you guys, and I can see that all of you partner with amazing big corporations. So it just shows us how we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here as well, and kind of keep it really simple, to be honest. I think for us, we really want to design beautiful products for, I guess, the icons of tomorrow. We really believe in culture and music and art coming together and merging with a new form of fashion, and really bringing the talent of tomorrow into the space. Personally, I believe that fashion and music always go hand in hand. When I think of the moments in time that have really moved me through fashion or film, in costume, it's always been through storytelling, through music, through things that really move me emotionally. And so, we've always been really focused, I think very similarly to Show Studio actually. Who are the people, who are the faces who are wearing these pieces, who are the people who are embodying these pieces and bringing them to life, even in the digital form. And, we've gone on to dress the likes of Marilyn Monroe and Grimes, and a few others that we can't talk about yet. Wink, wink. But that, I think, for us is really the key focus, is building a beautiful, desirable brand. And most importantly as well, since we are on the Queens of CloneX panel talk, it's all about, looking at women and focusing on women and building a brand that really is created for and by women. I think something that a lot of people don't really talk about in Web3 is the fact that there's a lot of female avatars that are being built and designed by men, which is fine. But truthfully, I think this is such an opportunity for women to finally get together, and also financially liberate ourselves in a way that has never been possible before. And that's what we want to do, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, and however else you like to gender yourself. That is our aim. We really want to liberate everyone with beautiful pieces, and making the icons and the culture of tomorrow happen. And I think, on that note, I'm going to pass over to Lisa, and I do actually have to head out soon. But thank you so much, everyone. It's been nothing but a pleasure. I'm going to give you one last piece of alpha from me before I hand over to you, Lisa, which is take a look at my profile picture. It might be a bit of a tease as to what's coming next. All right. Thank you.
Releasing so much alpha, Paula. I love it. Well, you know what? Again, to echo, we're here to celebrate, right? Fashion is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a liberation. I think, of course, we're upgrading with technology. We're going hand in hand. We're becoming more optimized, efficient. But we can't forget the fact that we're humans and we need that human connection. We need to look up to, our peers and support each other. And I think these digital communities are really vibrant, and we can connect across the worlds and push forward what it really means to have a digital lifestyle in a better way than it is right now. I think it has a lot of faults, right? And when we got together with Paula, we saw that we can actually go against to a lot of the shortcomings within the fashion industry, as you know, with so much waste and inequality and just not enough transparency, which are being fixed by the use of technology and blockchain on its own. So, with that being our core principles of business, really, and the way that we handle our production and the creative, we can really focus on the things of narrative, the things of vision, and push that forward. I think digital fashion, regardless, has so many benefits for sustainability, right? Maybe AR is going to eradicate fast fashion. Maybe that's going to be the first go-to for creator economy and all the influencers. We really hope so, fingers crossed. But if not, there's other solutions. I think we haven't touched upon 3D print, right? Any asset that is designed digitally could potentially be 3D printed. It's a concept that we've explored with one of the awards that we received last year, which is the Designer of the Year by CFS Lablaco. We had an opportunity to work with some of the top 3D printing specialists in Germany, and the quality is impeccable, I must say. And design that we've created is couture. It's made to measure and it's made to order. All digital. Upon your desire, you can redeem a 3D printed version, and that is a future use case. That is definitely one of the most pioneering, sustainable, highly, creative, crafted product that can go out there. So there's different ways to go about it, but I think technology is definitely not everything. It's there to help us optimize to be better, so we can focus on really creating something meaningful and not just for the purpose of marketing or whatever else. So that is our love to the digital fashion community. Thank you so much for having us, and we hope to see you around.
Yeah, and actually on that note, I'm jumping back in. I lied. Anyone who's in NFT Paris, either in the show or doing anything around it, let us know. We'd love to meet you there in person, and get to know you. And yeah, keep in touch. We've got loads of things coming up soon. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies. You were amazing. I will be in NFT Paris, so we'll definitely want to hook up with you guys.
Hey, well, see you
See
there.
you there.
Bye.
So wonderful. Wow, they were so well spoken to. I really love all the points that they made. And when she said icons of the future, I literally got chills. That was beautiful. Johnny, so you have your hand up.
Yeah, just touching on what Elisa literally just said, right? It's like coming from the traditional manufacturing world, right? It's very hard for people to create their own shoes, right? It takes hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop the tools and everything like that. And up until this point, we haven't had the ability to be able to 3D print any shoes or be able to print on demand or allow independent artists to be able to actually like create their own product, right? And so now with my own shoe, we're 3D printing every single shoe based off of a scan of your individual foot, and then it's printed on demand, right? Just using a 3D file, right? So basically, we're able to create a shoe from Gravity Sketch, put it into Blender, and then send it to the engineers to then be able to print shoes on demand per order. We did not have this technology about a year ago, right? And so now this is kind of like a transition, like in live time with what the footwear industry is going to go through, right? The company that I'm fortunate enough to be able to be linked with is already making samples for Louis Vuitton and Fear of God and Montclair and Kanye and all of these different amazing artists that are big brands, but their goal is to allow any independent creator to eventually have their own shoe brand with just having one 3D file, which is just super exciting, right? So this is the power of it. It's like not only are you going to be able to get the shoes, they're going to be mapped specifically for your left and your right foot. So it's actually made for the first time to you, which is actually going to help like lower extremity issues with a lot of people. Because I've always told people shoes have only been made for one specific last. No one's actually individual foot. So you've always had to go get gel insoles or any of this other stuff to actually like fix it or have it fit. The technology in which we have now, it uses the facial recognition of your phone to actually map every single nuance of your toes, your foot, your ankles, and then you actually have them customized to you. Then, because it started with a 3D file, you actually get the 3D files with the shoes that'll be linked to your avatars and your digital representation of yourself, right? So you're getting so many different use cases for just one product. It's not just like, oh, you're just going to get this shoe, you're going to wear it, and then it's going to break down. Not only that, it's like they're using recyclable TPUs to the point where you can actually exchange the shoes in the future for discounted rates and upgrade the silhouettes over time. But having the 3D file, you can evolve the shoe yourself, right? So as you get the 3D file, you bring in it at 3D softwares, you change it the way you want, and then that could be a whole new shoe. This is just small examples using footwear, but like this could be used for any product in any form, right? I think this is what's so exciting, is knowing we're just at the precipice of it, and this is going to be a massive part of quote unquote fashion for the foreseeable future.
My mind was literally just blown. That was like such a crazy in-depth concept. Like I really love that, Johnny. And definitely love your input. Let's throw it to Jumpstart again, and then Illich. And if anybody else, sorry if I slaughtered your name, if anybody else wants to jump on and ask a question, definitely feel free to do so. We usually wrap it around 2 hours, so that'll be at the top of the hour. After Illich, we'll throw it to Maja. And yeah, thank you all so much again.
Actually, I'll let Illich go first and I'll go afterwards. Johnny, I'm going to slide into your DMs because I think I need some custom Nikes. And if you're doing physical items, then I'm definitely all about that. Illich is a friend from the Rug Radio creator community, along with Boo as well. So I'll just pass the mic to him first and I'll go afterwards.
GM. Great conversation, man. A lot of gems being dropped. Just to kind of like add to the conversation about, brands and creative sort of meeting at the intersection with sort of what's happened with like Nike and Artifact. I think that the roadmap for every brand is going to be different. Like I think that Artifact has one, what's the way that I could explain it? Like they're one version of the way that you could do it, but I think that eventually in the future, what's going to really bridge the gap is that these corporations, and when I say corporations, I mean like the fashion brands or just brands in general that want to integrate themselves with Web3, they're going to have to start creating divisions of people that are like the Web3 consultants of these brands. I think that that's something that's sorely lacking in the industry right now. I think that there needs to be more of that, where they're creating divisions so that people can inform them about what brand activities happening in the space and sort of like who are the right fit for a brand collaboration or potential acquisition, or whatever the case may be. And I think that when that happens, I think that we'll see way more mass adoption on that side, because with what happened with Nike and Artifact, when I look at it, it's like it felt like a marriage made in heaven, right? It was like the whole vibes, the whole aesthetic. Like when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, it makes all the sense in the world, like the style down to like every minor detail, right? But for some other brands, they're going to have to really figure out like which are the ones that we could align ourselves with that make the most sense, because we've already seen mad examples of like brands coming into Web3 without that Web3 consultancy side of things, and then kind of flop because they're just thinking that like, oh, I'm a Fortune 500 company, like I'm just going to attach myself to a project and it's just going to go. And we've seen already those those kind of unnecessary flops. So I'm encouraged though, because we're still so early in the game. But I do think that if the industry sort of starts to, if the IRL industry really starts to like bring in people into their ecosystem who could then advise them and like guide them into the Web3 world with regards to like brands, I think that that's going to be a huge thing that I think is being overlooked, not by y'all in this space, but I think by the companies themselves. Like we need more divisions of people that have their boots on the ground, that are like involved in the communities, that are spending time in these Discord channels or in the spaces, and acquiring projects and learning about the ecosystem and then having them on those brands, because then we're really going to see like a real revolution. And that's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely agree with that. Like it takes brands to come in and I think pair up with either another successful brand, whether it's Bershka collaborating with Dress X, for example, or even Roblox or IMVU collaborating with Dematerialized and things like that. I think these Web2 things do such a good job when they pair up with a brand. But if that isn't their kind of key and they want to come in solely on their own, then absolutely, it would be crazy to me if they don't have an entire team dedicated to Web3 that is completely Web3 native, that has been in this for the last 2 years, that understands bull runs, bear runs. Like it's so important that you understand the tokenomics of everything, what makes a community happy, the things that work on Discord, the things that work on Twitter. Like it's just a completely different world and way to treat your customers, because they're not customers anymore. It's community. And yes, you might be selling things, but again, like Nike has kind of done, they've stepped in to this space and provided value and education first before even thinking about extracting monetary value from their community. So in that way, yes, completely agree. And I'm praying that more brands will kind of adopt more like Web3 native people and consultants that actually know what they're talking about and aren't just kind of yes men and tell them when something is wildly inappropriate or whatever for the space.
Yeah, I love that. Just a quick shout out to Illich. He's a friend. He's also an amazing photographer. He's also collaborated with Jordan. So if you're looking for photography or anything like that, sorry, I'm just hype squad for anyone who's my internet friend.
Mad love for you. Thank you.
I got mad love for you. So yeah, definitely go and check out his profile. I don't know, maybe Show Studio or anyone else who's interested. Definitely, y'all connect separately. But just one thing that I did want to say about the Fabricant as we close is that, the whole mission of what the Fabricant stands for is to build a new fashion industry where everyone participates. So basically the creator community aspect, and everyone profits, as in money, financial gains, right? Because I think that is something that is really important in Web3 and in this industry that makes us stand apart and literally democratizes a industry that is just has been from the beginning of time a very gated and exclusive industry. And so that's why we're here, that's why we're in this space, that's why we're throwing up emojis in Twitter spaces. But it's just an exciting opportunity to see where every single person, whether or not you're queens of CloneX, like Fawn here, or anyone up on stage, or anyone who's a listener, we're all still early. And I mean, OGs who maybe are mine Bitcoin probably tell us we're not OGs, but I still feel like I'm born today every day, like I said. But I just did want to point out for the Fabricant specifically, a couple pieces of alpha. I was inspired earlier because Alyssa dropped some gems. Unfortunately, I will not be in NFT Paris unless something changes, but my team will be there. So make sure to go and say hello. They would love to connect. We're also speaking at NFT Paris, and we have a women and non-binary. It's actually the first one in Paris, a art and digital fashion exhibition alongside World of Women, Eyes of Fashion. I see Etta here, as well as Maker's Place. And it's going to be a great opportunity for us to collaborate and to partner, which is really the essence of Web3, as well as showcase some of the designers in our community, which is really big because, again, we're not here to just profit on our own. We're here to lift up other people within this space. And on that note, I did pin to the top. We are giving away 20 pre-mint spots for our accessories drop, which is tomorrow, that I had to beg and squeeze out because I wanted to make sure that we, gave this community. And, I had a talk with Fawn about it too. We didn't want it to be gated. So it doesn't matter if you're a clone holder or not. Of course, we love clones, and I already told you I would love to sell something in order to buy a clone, but we ain't doing that right now. But yeah, for sure, definitely check out that pinned tweet, sign up, and would love for you to be part of our drop and part of our co-creator community. And second piece of alpha, I had to push the team real hard, but I wanted to drop a specific AR filter for NFT Parish that we are bullish on. And so my French is terrible, so I will not say the name of the filter itself, but stay tuned. It's going to be dropping. It's going to be available. I want to see all y'all. Please tag me, tag the Fabricant. Whether or not you're eating croissant or a very small European sized coffee, because my team who's European always asks me if I'm drinking Guinness at 8 a.m. in the morning because my coffee is that big and I drink 2 of them. So yeah, Americans, we just like our venti Starbucks situation. But thank you, Queens of CloneX, Fawn, for having us. It was an honor to be on stage with all y'all. And I'm just bullish and I'm freaking excited. Y'all are going to have a blast in NFT Paris. Please connect. I'm feeling that Paris FOMO already, but y'all are going to have a blast, and I can't wait to hear about how it was like.
It's been such a
Paris
pleasure.
topic. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, ladies, and guys, everyone, I have a quick question about Paris. Is anyone here now? Because I happened to be in the capital of fashion early, so I'm here this week, and I'm really looking forward to connect with clones in Paris. So if anyone is here, just DM me, and I will be glad to catch up. And yeah, of course, we are looking forward for the NFT Paris, but also for the Paris Fashion Week that starts on Monday 27th, and that's when we also host the digital fashion event by DressX. It's going to be an exciting one, so also check on the announcements, and definitely it's for the partners and for the holders. We'll be happy to connect here. And thank you so much, Queens, for hosting an event, for hosting this space, and for just creating the whole kind of possibility to connect within this safe and inspiring space and together.
Guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I pushed my call that was supposed to start at 2 p.m. because I just couldn't stop listening, but now I really have to go. Thank you so much. Artisan is always open for collaboration. So if you have questions, ideas, or just want to chat about digital fashion, don't hesitate and DM me. Send you all of you a lot of love. Stay safe, stay happy. Bye.
Bye, Layla.
Bye, Layla. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Queen. We have had so many inspiring people on this stage today. This has been one of my favorite conversations thus far. I'm literally just like buzzing with excitement, and I feel so honored that all of these amazing entrepreneurs, took the time to get up and talk to us today. Like, this is such an emerging industry, and I'm just really, really bullish, really grateful. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to go till the top of the hour. We can just talk about CloneX stuff. I mean, I know I have more questions about digital fashion. I don't know if anyone in the audience does, but I do want to respect the speaker's time.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone needs to pop off, then we don't mind. Just carry.
Hi. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go. Thank you very, very much for having me and letting me represent Show Studio. Thanks, everyone. It's a really, really interesting conversation. I hope we can
Okay,
do it
can I
again.
ask what's the most favorite CloneX wearable? Because initially there were a lot of different items, and then there were different initiatives. And I see Vega here. Good to see you in your yellow puffer. And yeah, what's your favorite
Yeah,
items
I can't
actually?
leave on this point because it's super perfect question.
Maybe you should answer then, Dee.
Like for me, it's obvious. My favorite wearable is by Diverge, the girl outfit. So
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get that one. Speaking of mints, definitely check out Dee's CloneX collection and definitely check out the Fabricants pre-sale. It is live right now on the top of this Twitter space. Really, really amazing. Very generous of them to do that. Super excited to kind of see how all that plays out. I would have to say my favorite CloneX item would probably have to be the crown. You know, Queens of CloneX. I would be lying or hypocritical if I said not. But honestly, I think all the CloneX drip is very, very strong, and I think it will continue to get better and better as we have more iterations from the team and the community, and just other brands coming together for CloneX garments. Fawn, what about you?
I absolutely love. There's like a certain dress that was designed, I think, by Steffi Fung. And it is absolutely gorgeous, and it's like the brown one, and it's got a cape, and it's just beautiful. I can't think of any clone that I know that is wearing it, but I'll try and find it and pin it to the top. But also, if there's any listeners that want to just come up, vibe, talk about anything that you've heard today, give your opinions, yeah, just request and we can let you up.
Hey, I just want to chime into this because I've been telling Fawn I've been literally simping over clothes ever since I got into this space, because I love kicks and sneakers, and definitely just message Johnny on the side to see if I can, get my custom Nikes. My parents told me it looks like I have a sneaker store because I have too many sneakers, and I never thought that they would be able to see it all. But I had posted this clone. The Hustle owns it. Sorry, I'm calling you out, but it's 10020. Purple varsity jacket, robot DNA, the floral wreath. Oh my goodness, like it, and just the eyes of the robot. Like I'm just obsessed. Like everything just looks so freaking clean, and I love that bomber jacket. So any of y'all who are actually going to create this, I may not be able to afford a clone right now because I'm ETH poor. But I mean, I got a little bit of cash, I think. So I would definitely be down to buy a bomber jacket. And I don't know if anyone has been creating, and that's a question actually I have for the CloneX community. Has anyone actually worked through to create the physical items of the CloneX clothing?
So I have to say I did buy a jacket that looks exactly like like my jacket that I'm wearing. I'll try and pin the picture of me wearing it. But I was just like, I absolutely have to, like, because it's just fashionable anyway. And I love me a fur.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just creating
Rock
my own X stuff using my IP. So like jackets and 3/4 sleeve shirts and pants and all kinds of stuff. Just almost like one-off stuff. What I do with my like custom shoes, like I'm basically just utilizing my IP for my clone and then just creating like limited garments off of it, and then eventually it'll come to market at some point. But yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyone who has that purple varsity jacket, please at me. I would love to buy that jacket. Seriously. Just the purple color with the black colorway and the blue and white and black collar on that jacket. It just looks so freaking dope. And I think like this is also what I love about clones is that it's so fashionable and it's so street and so fresh that like you actually want to make the physical versions of the PFPs or the clones or whatever other people in the normal world like you want to buy the physical items of the NFTs. But I think clones is for me that grail that they just did everyone right. They didn't do them dirty when it comes to the fashion.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like we were able to forge the season 1 stuff, which was based on our clone's DNA. But I think everyone is kind of hoping that one day we'll actually be able to forge the stuff that the clones are wearing. It's a hope of ours. We're
I mean, yeah. It's interesting being a creative and just knowing a lot of the creatives that are like almost aligned with this project in a way. And it's like, even my buddy Rupsy's down here. I'm sure you guys have all seen him, but like he's working on something really dope, right? It's like we saw what the season 1 came out with, and then what his creative vision is as far as like his own standpoint on the fashion and all this stuff. And seeing the previews for a lot of the work that he's doing it's just insane to me, right? It's like it excites me knowing that it'll be linked to clones and it'll be rigged for clones for digital fashion and all this other stuff. But it's like this is what I love about it. It's like you have a base clone right in the community, and then we're all artists like serving one larger community, and then you have like a built-in audience to be able to support you with that. Because if anybody comes out with like clone rigged wearables, obviously it's like a thing that I'm looking at immediately, right? And so it's like with the amount of talented artists out there, you guys talk about what's the coolest like garment. I always go back and people always ask me what's my favorite shoe. I always say it hasn't been created. It hasn't been designed yet. Right. I think that's what's so cool is the coolest stuff hasn't even been made yet. And give it a year or two as these creatives, these independent creatives put their own spin on it and put it out in the world.
I didn't want
Yeah,
to.
hi guys. I have a call in 10 minutes, so I would need to say bye. But really, thank you. It was so exciting conversation, and please, let's do more of these spaces and share our experiences. Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of words about my vision of fashion. Is I'm sure, like at some point in maybe like 3-5 years, we will be care about our digital clothing as much as we care about our physical clothes, or maybe even more. And for sure, we all will have a digital wardrobe, like kind of Dress Sixes building actually. And what we are doing in Diverge is that we are trying to create a beautiful, the best product and deliver this fashion dream of the future. So yeah, we are also open for collaborations and to co-create with creators, especially from CloneX community. So yeah, who is interested to co-create and to participate in our next drops, because we are actually planning a lot of things right now. DM me and let's connect and discuss. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Dee. Welcome to Queens of CloneX. Love seeing, entrepreneurial clone women. I really, really appreciate your time today, and we'll definitely be connecting more in the future. Have a great meeting and all that stuff. We did just bring up Joshua Larson. Just want to say, hey, Space is probably going to wrap in about 10 minutes, but really happy to have you here and everybody else as well.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much. I had a question for the panelists. For those of us who are independent creators or have like a small brand, what's a good way to build an audience for our digital fashion? Like I understand with community, I found it like the digital fashion space really welcoming, but it's all amongst other creators and kind of entrepreneurs or just kind of leaders in the digital fashion space. But I was curious if anybody had any advice for building an audience of like everyday consumers, everyday users, enthusiasts who aren't otherwise creators themselves.
Hey, Joshua, I'd like to jump in on this if that's okay. sorry, I'm not really familiar with your work, but I just gave you a follow. Happy to have a conversation on this. But I would say, I mean, there's community building and there's a aspect of community where you want to sell your work and your creations, right? And I think that part of it is really doing what you're doing, going into spaces, sharing about it. But I really have to say that content is king or queen or non-binary, however you want to identify. Fawn's laughing at me. I feel like she's always laughing at me. A lot of people because of my comments. But I will have to say that getting yourself out there. I mean, hitting that publish button or post button for a lot of these like pieces of content you're making, go behind the scenes, show your process, make content around what you're building and showcase that in the best way possible and just keep on grinding and sharing with other people. I mean, it's a journey, and honestly it's not easy, but I mean, happy to talk offline about this as well. But at the same time, as much as you're grinding, make sure you take care of your mental health.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's so many different massive communities in here too. Like I specifically align myself with Artifact, right? And look how many beautiful people that are part of this community, right? That have supported, right? So it's like you don't even necessarily have to start from scratch. It's just like aligning yourself with amazing projects that have already built in this foundation, right? And then just doing your own kind of spin on it. It always works.
Yeah, sorry, last point. I saw Kuro, you have your hand up. So sorry if I'm jumping in real quick, but I just want to make one last note. Johnny made a great point. Like the clone community, there's Fabricant, there's many others, that have been up on stage as well. Just to go in their Discord, go into their spaces, vibe with them. There's a whole creator community, but I think you're also looking for a community in which you can actually sell your art as well and your creations. But I think for that as well, make sure to go into the communities that are not just about fashion, because I think it's about kind of that evangelizing of digital fashion and making that use case, because digital fashion is still quite small. We don't have the masses in yet in terms of even the people who are hyped about, sneakers and, streetwear or fashion and these things. Like, just get ready, because when they come, they'll be looking for you, Joshua. So I'm just here to hype you up, but happy to talk offline.
Yeah, thank you. I'm hyped about sneakers, all right. So I appreciate that.
Let's go. Kuro, what's up? Mr. Hand Raise, hey.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So Joshua, with normal people, you kind of want to be at events, right? That's super important. Like, I don't know if you went to Art Basel, but having like a set of screens and having your creations walk by as people walk by is a pretty cool vibe. Also, try and avoid saying NFTs. Just call them digital collectibles because people get really triggered. I know like people are like, oh, this guy's always complaining about verbiages and stuff, but it's kind of like when you just like sit back and you just watch people like kind of like fade things just because they're called NFTs or whatever, but really they are digital collectibles, right? They're a collectible shoe, a collectible sock, whatever it is. And then you kind of want to like also get into the Snapchat filters and stuff. If you've seen like Artifact's success with that, is something that you can emulate and is not like out of the realm of possibility for a one-man team. So just a couple things.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's a little bit of a struggle. My question kind of comes from my context of being a part of the indie games community and kind of fringe indie digital art, where they absolutely abhor the concept of NFTs in games, NFTs in general, AI art, and basically like all the stuff that I'm getting into. They pretty much hate. So I'm kind of like floating off, like an astronaut floating into the black void. And I mean, I found some other people to connect with, which is great, but I'm still feeling a little lost. So thank you, everyone.
One other thing you can try and do, especially with the gaming thing, is try and get up on stage with like Igor and those guys. They have a couple of new projects that are coming in. These guys have like these giant like beanie bag things, and they're like super big in like the gaming realm. So what they do is they go to like Comic Cons and stuff like that, and they have like little dolls that kind of like wrap around your neck and stuff. There's like it's like when you're going to the masses and like just like people that have this like lens over their eyes and they kind of just don't see what you're doing, you got to put it in front of them so they can interact with it without giving them too much of those like I'm trying to show you something vibes.
Yeah, I think everything, all the advice given was completely spot on. Yeah, I just think aligning with communities and creators in this space that aren't scared of AI, that aren't scared of NFTs, is probably your sure fast way of building a quick kind of community. But yeah, I think just for me, when I see creators and founders that are doing projects in this space that are real, that like I can humanize, that I know aren't just like going out for my money, but like are people that I like believe in their vision, and I see them contributing to the space without just doing a GM every day, but actually like delivering value into our community, you know, bringing good vibes or whatever, whether it's on spaces or whether on my timeline or whatever. I'm so much more willing to like interact with that person, and then support them. And I think Johnny was completely right in terms of like the clones or whatever. We're really lucky because we all kind of band together. If someone's doing something, we automatically just have like an audience of 10,000 people or whatever, 10,000 holders that are willing to kind of hear us out because they trust us, and we're part of that kind of family or whatever. So I think just tapping into those existing communities really helps, and just providing value and being like a cool person in the space, I think really helps. But yeah, I'll give you a follow and hopefully keep updated with what you're doing.
I unfortunately have to wrap the room because of my Web2 job. But listen, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Dematerialize, DressX, The Fabricant, Artisan, Aurora Bros, Show Studio, Diverge. You guys are absolutely incredible. Jumpstart, thank you so much. Such an asset to this conversation. Monda, we love you. We love DressX. We're so excited. Vega, you're here too. You're great. We love you. Johnny, thank you so much for contributing. Kuro, you're awesome. Illich, pleasure to meet you. Joshua, pleasure to meet you too. Fawn, you absolutely killed this. Thank you so much to Fawn. She literally single-handedly organized this whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, like she killed it. She's the queen of metaverse fashion. I love you guys. I love Artifact. I'm so grateful and honored to be here once again. My name is Frankie Rain. This is Queens of CloneX. Fawn, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I just love you and love everyone in the space. And yeah, it's been so good. One of my favorites. So thank you so much for everyone to join.
Me too. Thank you so much for the energy that all of the entrepreneurs came and, you know, offered to the space. It really means so much to have such incredible minds. Like these are the icons of the next era, as was said. These are the leaders that, you know, the masses will be looking to at one point in time when this, you know, hits the normies. Love you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.